Hello everyone, I'm Maghfiroh from the State University of Yogyakarta. On this occasion, I would like to review two novels by George Orwell. The first novel is non-fiction entitled Homage to Catalonia, and the second novel is classic fiction entitled Animal Farm. Before we get into the discussion, I would like to begin by explaining Orwell's short biography. Eric Archer Blair, known by his pen name George Orwell, was born on June 25, 1903 in eastern India. He is the son of a British colonial civil servant. He was educated in England and after he left Eton, joined the Indian Imperial Police in Burma, then a British colony. He resigned in 1927 and decided to become a writer. His work is characterized by lucid prose, biting social criticism, opposition to totalitarianism, and outspoken support of democratic socialism. The first book that I'm going to talk about is Orwell's nonfiction entitled Homage to Catalonia, originally published on April 25, 1938. The publisher is Secker and Warburg. The book has two versions. The first version is paperback. It has 368 pages with 12 chapters. And the second book is hardback. It has 248 pages with 12 chapters as well. Plot summary. In December 1936, George Orwell arrives in Barcelona. He is there as a journalist but energized by the spirit of revolution, joins the militia. Orwell enlists in the Spanish Civil War because he wants to fight fascists. The Spanish Civil War is the major precursor to World War II. It is the first time major arena where communists are fighting against fascists. As a member of the POUM unit, or the Workers' Party of Marxist Unification in English, Orwell first goes through basic training and then is sent to the front. There, he spent 3 months mostly bored in the trenches. When Orwell returns to Barcelona 3 months later, everything has changed. Societal class divisions have re-emerged and there are already signs that there are divisions between rich and poor. Orwell is so enraged that he wants to leave his own regiment and join the anarchists full-time. Instead, he becomes involved in the street fighting that has broken out all over Barcelona. When he finally returns to more organized fighting at the front, his war career abruptly ends when a sniper shoots him in the throat. He is taken to the hospital, and after a long series of examination, he is declared officially unfit to fight. But not in time to avoid becoming a fugitive, his POUM organization has been declared illegal, and it is therefore now illegal to be a member. The members are arrested, in some cases they are executed. Orwell managed to escape with his wife and some others. They flee Spain and make their way to France. Orwell and his wife continue across the British Channel to England, where he writes Homage to Catalonia. The setting, place, and time. The book is set in Barcelona, and the event happens around 1936 until 1939. The theme in Homage to Catalonia. The first theme is class division. This theme is shown through the changes regarding class division and the treatment of the working class before and after George Orwell returns to Barcelona. The second theme is the possibility of revolution. George Orwell goes to Spain because he believes it is his duty to fight the rise of fascism in Europe. When he arrives in Barcelona, he is fascinated to discover that a social revolution is underway. He supports the attempt to build a democratic society with neither poverty nor class divisions. The third theme is treason. This theme is shown through the incident when the communists betrayed their Marxist alliance. Nevertheless, they believed that it was the only opportunity to factor in the future of Spain. The fourth theme is human decency and the absurdity of war. Throughout the Homage to Catalonia, Orwell seeks to understand the meaning of the war and the value of his own involvement in it. While he initially conceives of the war as a noble struggle for democracy, his experience at the front is characterized by stagnation and absurdity. Similarly, he discovers that the political atmosphere in Spain is deeply fractured one, characterized by corruption, persecution, and terror. Nevertheless, despite the senseless of suffering and injustice that Orwell witnesses, he does not despair of humanity. On the contrary, inspired by numerous examples of individual generosity and courage, he affirms his trust in human beings' inherent dignity and decency. The fifth theme is military ineptitude. This theme is shown throughout the story, likewise the terrible trained force and poorly armed. The rifles that they used were practically antiques, over 100 years old, and so rusted that they would barely fire. Strategic knowledge was minimal, lacking in basics in all areas of warfare strategy, arms, and comprehension of the purpose of the exercise. It was almost impossible for the outset for the left-wing alliance to flourish in the war. Characters and characterization. The first character is George Orwell. George Orwell, the narrator and protagonist of the story, is a well-educated, upper-middle-class English citizen. The second character is Orwell's wife. While a name in the story, or her real name was Eileen Blair, Orwell's wife supported him through the war. She plays an important role in supporting him throughout his time in Spain. The third character is the Italian militiaman. While he only has an incredibly brief appearance, or Orwell does not even know his name, the Italian militiaman is the most important character in the entire book. Orwell's memory of the Italian militiaman served as his first important memory of the Spanish Civil War. The fourth character is George Cobb. George Cobb is a Belgian volunteer and fellow member of the POUM who Orwell meets during the Spanish Civil War. Characterized by a cheerful, carefree attitude toward even the most difficult moments in the war. Cobb becomes Orwell's personal friend and impresses him with his effective leadership in moments of difficulty. The fifth character is Bob Smiley, is a fellow Englishman in the POUM militia. Orwell considers 22-year-old Smiley one of the strongest, most talented fighters he has met in the war. I think Orwell is a brilliant person. He just tried to tell what was happening and share his experience honestly. It was really a formative moment for George Orwell. That is the first time he sees big political monsters and machines at work and the cruelty of his time. That helped make him one of the great commentators of his own era. And what was really strange though about this is his description of day-to-day life as a soldier in a long drawn-out war. He describes lack of food, lack of sleep, being too cold not having the right clothes, being full of fleas, getting sick, and boredom. He describes so well, and there's this great comedy to his description as well because George Orwell was a highly educated, stiff guy, very British and very privileged that even some of the English soldiers fighting alongside him didn't really like him that much. They thought that he didn't even like the people he was working with, but actually he had great empathy for these people. There's just so much that's going on and so many different groups. He talks about the anarchist peasant and the real feeling of revolution that starts the war, how that gets corrupted, how that changes, and how disappointed he can be in the war. However, what's refreshing also about this book is that Orwell lives with a greater sense of humanity. He had his cynical side, but it doesn't ruin him. As I said, I think Orwell is one of the great thinkers of his own era. He is a great essayist, journalist, and he made his career in journalism before writing his novels. So his style is evident in his non-fiction as well, and I think he really brings to life a war that most people don't know about it. But he also touched upon the universal aspect of war. So I really enjoy this book. I highly recommend it to anyone that's curious about Orwell or the Spanish Civil War. The second book that I will talk about is Animal Farm, originally published on August 17, 1945. The publisher is Secker and Warburg. It has 112 pages with 10 chapters. Plot summary. The book tells a story about a group of animals who live on a manor farm, a farm in the British countryside that Mr. Jones, a poor drunkard, owns. Old Major, a well-respected pig, calls all of the animals to a meeting in the big barn. He announces that human beings are the sole reason that animals in England are enslaved. They must overthrow humankind in a great rebellion. After Old Major passes away, the rebellion begins when Mr. Jones forgets to feed the animals. Under the leadership of Snowball, Napoleon, and Squealer, the animals chase well of the humans from the farm, renaming it Animal Farm. They make 7 commandments which they call animalism. They vow to eliminate inequalities among the animals. One day, the farm is attacked by Mr. Jones and some men. Bravely, the animals fight intruders away. Tension begins to build on the farm, as Snowball and Napoleon are at odds with one another on the direction the farm should take. Snowballs want to build a windmill, which he claims will increase food and reduce war, while Napoleon intends to increase production. Just as Snowball wins over the animals with his windmill idea, Napoleon calls his secret attack dogs to chase Snowball away. With Snowball gone, Napoleon becomes the farm's sole leader and starts changing the commandments for the convenience of pigs and other intelligent animals. Soon Napoleon announces plan to build the windmill, claiming that it was his idea all along, rewriting history. The animals work hard to build the windmill, but it gets destroyed by a strong wind. Napoleon blames Snowball for this act of vandalism and vows that the animals on Animal Farm will build it again. Soon Napoleon reaches out to humans outside the farm and begins making business deals for more supplies. The efforts of Boxer lead to the attempt to rebuild the windmill, an old workhorse nearing retirement age. Eventually, the windmill is completed but then gets blown up during an attack by neighboring men. Years go by, the rules on the barn begin to change fit the pig's new lifestyle until the only one rule remains. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. In the end, Napoleon invites neighboring farmers to visit the farm, and because the pigs have picked up on the mannerism of humans, the animals cannot tell which are the pigs and which are the human beings. Setting, place, and time. The book is set in Manor Farm, located in Wellington, England, at an undisclosed time. However, the novel's events are satirical of Russia during a major period of Russian political upheaval in 1917 until 1945. Themes in Animal Farm. The first theme is class conflict, shown throughout the story, and each animal represents a working class of Russia that wants to break free of its chains in 1917. The second theme is equality and inequality are also shown throughout the story. Likewise, before the rebellion, Mr. Jones uses his power to take control of the farm and takes everything that belongs to the animals. After the rebellion, the animals finally have freedom and start to live equally among themselves. But that won't last long after the pigs begin to take control and the inequality returns to the farm. The third theme is power, control, and corruption. These three are the most important themes in Animal Farm. Orwell shows these themes through Mr. Jones, who holds power as the owner of the farm, the pigs that after the rebellion taking control of everything in the farm, and one of the evil pigs, Napoleon, who corrupted the power he has and started exploit the animals' resources. Characters and characterization. The first character is Old Major. A highly respected boor who dreamed of a socialist utopia, acts as a major motive for the rebellion. He represents the historical figure, Russian revolutionary leader Karl Marx. The second character is Napoleon. Napoleon is a stubborn boor who represents a communist tyrant. He emerged as a leader of the farm after the rebellion. He never contributes to other animal efforts at a revolution, as he is only a corrupt individual who seeks to take advantage of opportunities created for him by others. The third character is Snowball. Snowball is a boor and one of the leaders among the pigs, who are young but charismatic, intelligent, and persuasive. He challenged Napoleon for control of the farm after he takes control of the leadership. Thus, he wins the loyalty and support of other animals easily. The fourth character is Boxer. Boxer is a large male horse who is respected for his stiffness of character and work ethic. He represents the uneducated and exploited working class who take propaganda to heart and believe in the government's cause without question. The fifth character is Squealer. Squealer is manipulative and highly persuasive. He spreads Napoleon propaganda throughout the farm to intimidate uneducated animals into supporting Napoleon's ideas and policies. Thus, he represents the propaganda machine of a totalitarian government. The sixth character is Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones is a man who owns the manor farm that his animals take over. He represents a corrupt government. Other supporting characters are Clover, Moses, Molly, Benjamin, Muriel, Mr. Pilkington, Mr. Frederick, Mr. Whymper, and Jessie and Bluebell, or Napoleon's dogs. First, the story highlights the relationship between the working class, proletarians, and the aristocracy within the context of a capitalist society. Like Animal Farm, they work not for themselves but for someone else's profit and are only fed and rested enough to perform more work. And when the animals are no longer productive, they are killed off and replaced. This relationship, though easily illustrated through the Animal Farm, applies to social classes today. Socialist theory argues that for the rich to be rich, there must be a poor working class. This is clearly illustrated not only on national level but worldwide level as well. Lastly, this story demonstrates the power of knowledge and how the uneducated and ignorant can be easily manipulated. Squealer will often twist words and events around to make Napoleon look good. And while it may seem obvious to readers to see the manipulation, this sort of thing happens in real life too. The public can frequently be misinformed and manipulated about certain issues if they are ignorant about them. Facts and events that seem to concrete may not actually be true. Nowadays, it is often up to individuals to find out for themselves. So, this book is really fascinating and relatable in real life. Right off the bat, I just like to say that I think George Orwell's fiction and nonfiction should be considered, on equal footing. I think it's a crime that his nonfiction is not as famous as his fiction works like Animal Farm. But on the other hand, Homage to Catalonia is one of the greatest wartime memoirs. It is some of the best literature about war you will ever find. So overall, I love both books. I think both books are phenomenal and worth reading. That's all my review of the two novels by George Orwell, and thank you for your kind attention.